The Chronicle thanks our 2023 Meet the Candidates sponsors: Ann Colton Films, Flossmoor Station Restaurant and Brewery, Jonathan Kane Salon and Spa, and Tom Brabeck Law Office. With their help, HF voters will be well informed on Election Day, April 4th.
My name is Christina Popolla-Vlietstra, and I am running for board member for the Flossmoor School District 161. Obviously, I'm seeking a second term for the district. I feel like my job isn't done yet. My goals that I hope to achieve for the students, first and foremost, but also for, of course, the constituents within the district of Flossmoor School District. Okay. Sure. I think in a district of our size, with as many students as we do serve, we would like to have that never-ending list of possibilities, right? We want to reach for the stars. And so, but one that really spoke to me from the first moment I got to do a building tour after I was elected was the Heather Hill front office renovation and that kind of entrance renovation. That spoke to me volumes because it was a huge safety issue for that specific building. So that was a front runner always for me from day one. That did make the final cut, if you will. Another need I'd say that I advocated for was there's actually, I feel like there was a three-way tie between second place, if you will, because like, let's go back to that list of wants that we would want. Obviously, Western Avenue needs a new front office. It's teeny if you've ever been. That's important. More bathroom spaces, I think, with this growing community. I think all of our buildings could use to be a little bit larger for new uses and new ways of learning. A huge list that is also on there is classroom renovations, which also added, and those add so much to learning as a whole, and just the development of a child that we're bringing up in our schools. And also, obviously, the Parker Cafetorium is definitely a hot button, buzzworthy word that has come to date, or come to pass as in the past few board meetings, as the climate of the world is shifting, needs change. So we as a board will have to shift and see how we can best serve the students and the residents here in Flossmoor. And we have to remember too, Chicago Heights. When you walked into Heather Hill, the front door, I think Dr. Smith had put it, described it well. The designer, the architect of that building, it was during a very Art Deco period, and so lots of straight lines and the way the building was formed. The front door is kind of off to the side, and it doesn't look like it would be the front entrance. And so when you walk in, there's a locked, obviously, vestibule, and you're needing to get buzzed in. And then once you're buzzed in there, you have to go through a different access, and it's just, there's not a direct access from the moment you walk in directly into the office. There's too many outside doors that could lead into the buildings, which obviously that's not something that we want for our students. So streamlining cameras are great, so we obviously know who's coming into our buildings. However, we always want to create a safe learning environment for our students, and that's just making sure all sight lines and no access to the building is available unless deemed necessary by the personnel in the office.
Okay. And
I think that all of our elementary buildings need some kind of a, whether it be a dedicated lunchroom or a dedicated gymnasium. So as of right now, there's just as Parker has a shared spaces, the elementary buildings only have one gym space and one lunchroom space. And so that's very difficult for turning over from lunch periods. So it would be great to see a dedicated facility for each. Then that could also lead into food prep in each building. I think that was definitely one thing that I would have liked to see. And foremost, start off by saying that a chunk of the $17 million is our projects that we have to do, such as boilers and things of that nature. Those aren't things we can put off. So from that aspect, those high-ticket items that need to be done, those will highly impact, because we like to keep our students warm and cool. So those will definitely impact for comfort control. But as specifically the projects in the long-range plan, the Heather Hill entrance project will absolutely, from a safety vantage, I don't think any student can learn unless they feel safe. I don't know that anybody there does right now feel unsafe, because we've put a lot of things into place that monitor who is walking around the buildings and who is entering the building. So there's those safeguards into place. But as far as classroom upgrades, I think that also has made it on the short list of potential projects that will be completed, and those opportunities. So I'm looking around this room that we're in, and there's functional seating, there's tables that move, there's smart boards, and there's steam manipulatives and things of that nature, and those and the cameras that we're using right here. I think all of those new high-tech features that we can add. Color, actually this room is not colorful, it's kind of gray, but that's okay. The aesthetics in the room do add to it. But bright colors and an inviting atmosphere, I think, will make students excited to come to school and to learn. And so, yes, that definitely will impact. The Parker Cafetorium, I think, will be, when it does happen, because it will. I have the vision in my head that it definitely just will. I think it's that, yes, it's the long term, and this is what the committee was formed to do, and I think that will happen, and that will be a huge part of, I think, Flossmoor School District as a whole. It will be the center of what we do, and maybe what we start in the elementary buildings and will come to fruition at the junior highs. And by what I mean by that is we can expand our fine arts programs, our music programs, and things of that nature, and we can just continue to pour out into those programs by way of this light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So I think all of those integrally, they all integrate, and they all come together to provide warmth and safety. Coming from somebody who loved the arts in high school, and my kids would not want me to burst out into song, so I'm not going to do that here. I'll say that for another day. I think that the arts have always been such an important part of this district, and they've, as much as we've had a tough time expanding our spaces for music and the arts and anything that is in that realm. I think that the Parker Cafetorium is definitely one thing that, if that is built, I think all of the elementary buildings could, one, use that space. So if the Parker Cafetorium, I'll back up. If the Parker Cafetorium was built, that would free up other spaces and potentially lend itself to other spaces that could be reserved or used for the arts, whether it be the music or fine arts, acting or plays or musicals or what have you. So I think if we create more space over here, there will be extra space where we moved things from point A to point B to. And I think that is a huge, one, selling point if you're moving to the area, or two, if you're coming, if you're in the district already and your student is coming up to the age where music is offered in the school. So I think there's definitely a space for that. There's a need for that. I think anybody who's ever done a building tour, or as a parent, or if you're a community member and you remember when your child was at Western or at Flossmoor Hills, and there was, you know, just a limited amount of space for, you know, somebody to practice, you know that there's a need for it. So it's definitely, I feel like it might have not made the cut for the final long-range plan, but it's right there along with, like, I feel like if we could put the Parker Cafetorium alongside something, it would be a space for fine arts and music. I think it is important. I as an educator myself, I'm a trained and licensed teacher. I think that education starts from the moment they're out of the womb, and it's our job, you know, as parents or caregivers or whoever you are in that child's life, to start to mold them into this person that they will be. And the earlier we can get these students into the building, the better. And it takes me back to our board conference that I attended 2 years ago, and this was one of the topics, was early childhood and how important it is to get the students into the not even only a routine and coming to school, but setting that foundation as early as possible. And from the second I've moved into this district after I got married, and I didn't happen to go to Normandy Villa where our district admin building is, but when I walked there for the first time, I said, wow, this would make a great pre-K building. And so I think that there's a place. There's, I think, a want from the community, as we have full pre-K programs already, the ones that we do offer that are, you know, grant funded. So there's definitely an area, a space. There's an avenue that just needs to be traveled, and my first retreat on the board 4 years ago, the then board president really drove home that we as a board have to spend these retreat times getting to know one another. And I think the superintendent has also done a fantastic job of driving that home too. We have to learn who we are as we are professionally. I think it's important that we're there to do a job, obviously, but we're all individuals. And it's good to get to know a board member who they are individually, so when we have those tough times, we can look past that and know that this is just at a professional level. We may disagree about things, but we can still come together and have common ground with who they are. And with that, it's nice to have those retreat times that we're able to all be in the same room, right? And not have any agenda other than building one another up and learning more about each other. And I think it's within those tough times, we remember if somebody has a differing opinion, you think, oh, I shared a nice conversation about that show we liked together, or we have a common interest of camping, or we both like ice skating, or whatever it is. So I think coming together is really important in order to have, just like in any relationship, in order to have open lines of communication and knowing that we're here to do a job. We cannot take things personally, and first and foremost, the children and the residents of the district come first, and all of our feelings aside, all of how we may feel about anything. But we do. I think it's important that we do have healthy dialogue. I think if we as a board agreed on everything, people should start to question, because it's never that easy, right? It's just, there are things in life that come up, and I think if we can work through our differences and work through our work towards areas of improvement and just do better, I think anyone can get through anything. And I feel like as a board, we do a really good job of that. And sometimes we may leave a little bit not happy, but I think we all come back the next time and we just refocus and we get our job done again.
All right. Thank you. And
so I am honored to sit on the Community Engagement Committee, which, shameless plug, come join the Community Engagement Committee. We'll always take anybody who's in the district who wants to just like it says, engage with the community, plan events for the district, plan events that collaborate with the district, whatever that looks like, it involves Flossmoor School District. I think I'm looking forward to, I'm happy the weather has kind of broke. We're going to cross our fingers so I can get to walking and getting back into the community and just talking with residents again on what their needs are, their new needs, because we're ever shifting, ever changing in life. And so if we're not listening to the needs of our constituents, then we're not doing our job. And that's boots on the ground, and that's, you know, talking to people in grocery stores and you know, as you're walking the dog or taking the kids in the pickup line or whatever it is. It's literally just listening and being that voice, because we are the voice for the people. And if we don't take that time to put ourselves in the community and to allow people to come forward and talk to us, which you can always email us. I don't recall what the email is for the whole board, but you should always email us. We're always there to listen. It's a big part. We have to have open lines of communication. Just as we have it with our board, we have to have it with our residents. And no one should ever feel that they can't come to the board with SPON right then and there, but somebody always does follow up. We always get our emails. That's number one way to get a hold of us is through email, but it's important. If we serve, we exist to serve the constituents of this district, and we want to do that. And the best way to do that is boots on the ground. Okay. You know, I have kids, obviously, and I wrote a note down because as a parent, I want to do my best for myself to raise good people, good humans in this world. And I think my why for this term, my why for last term was this present term that I'm finishing out. There was a lot of why, and it based around the children now. And I think in this environment that we have, this world that we're raising these babies in, I think the focus still has to be on these children and teaching them how to be kind individuals, how to shape them into these role models, because we are raising adults. No matter which way you want to look at it, you have a 7-year-old, they're going to be an adult. So unless we teach them the proper way to deal with hard things, to deal with the good things, they're not going to be able to react in situations. It's just our job. So with that, I want to do a better job, I think, as a district of building a bridge, building that mutual connection and support between the community, the teachers, and the students of our district. Because when that bridge can be built, when we have a common understanding, a common ground, respect can then form. I don't think you can do that until you have the latter. I think kindness comes first, and once you're kind, then you can learn to understand people, and then the respect and trust comes. And I think that's the bridge that needs to come back. And I think once that is done, I think behaviors shift. Students are able to focus more and less on the noise that electronics may or may not bring to the table. So it's multifaceted, but it all boils down to getting back to basics and creating and raising kind human beings. Because unless we have that, we're failing.